The Edo State Deputy Governor, Shaibu, said the court's decision will determine the People's Democratic Party's candidate for the governorship post scheduled for September 21st, 2024. Now, on Tuesday, the PDP National Working Committee, led by the acting National Chairman, that's Umar Damagum, issued a certificate of return to Asue Ighodalo as the party's candidate for the upcoming Edo governorship post. Recall that two contenders, that's Shaibu and Ighodalo, emerged as the gubernatorial candidates for the 2024 Edo elections under the banner of the People's Democratic Party following simultaneous primaries held in the state on February 22nd, that's 2023. Now, Shaibu secured victory with about 301 votes, while Ighodalo clinched the win in a separate primary held at the Samuel Ogbemudia Stadium with 577 votes. Of course, joining me on the program to discuss this is Evans Ufeli, legal practitioner joining from Lagos. Evans, thank you for joining the conversation. All right, if you can hear me, let's start off with what you think generally about the political climate in Edo State in recent times. As regards the build-up towards the polls, the governorship polls.
Yes, I think the political climate there is one that is full of a lot of upheavals, from the PDP to the APC. The stories are the same all over the place. We've had consistent wrangling. From the APC, you had a primaries that produced 3 gubernatorial candidates, for which the APC have turned around to rearrange the process to have it delivered accordingly. Now, on the PDP side, we had a process that produced similarly 2 candidates, one endorsed by PDP National Working Committee, and the other who emerged as a result of his refusal to get into the arena of the primaries. Now, the party has chosen Asue Ighodalo as the party nominee, flag bearer for the governorship elections. And Shaibu, who happens to be the current deputy governor of the state, is agitated and has said today that he's going to approach the court for the purposes of litigation to, declare him as the true winner of that primary. So, inter-party or intra-party wrangling and litigation at the level of primaries is one of the processes under which you can vent your grievances. And the Federal High Court is the court that have jurisdiction to that effect to hear that matter. And the Electoral Act have said that for you to challenge the outcome of a primary election, you must have been a contestant in that election. So Shaibu have a local standard to approach the court to review the process and declare whether or not it's actually the party's flag bearer as against Asue
Ighodalo. This are pretty much interesting times. So let me take you back, just to sort of buttress what you said, let me take you back to what the deputy governor did say. I wish the graphics could come up. He said, today is the day set aside for the collection of certificates of return for the winner of the primary. I understand someone came yesterday and was given. Well, the court will decide. This statement, of course, he made when he visited the party secretariat to pick up, the certificate, and of course, he couldn't. Now, my question is this. There are laws. I want to believe that there are party laws, right, which are clearly spelled out. So why is this an issue at this time? Could it be as a result of the, cold will I call it, cold crisis between the governor and his deputy, sort of come into play here?
Well, the party law is there, but the truth is that it is during litigation that this will be made clear whether or not the party so chosen by PDP is actually the one who should be able to bear the flag of the party at the general election. But what we can infer from whatever it is that's happening is that a date was set for the collection of the certificate of return. And according to Shaibu, the Deputy Governor of Edo State, he said that when he got there, he learned that some other persons came yesterday and are taking the certificate of return, and that the court will resolve it. So it is clear that parties are heading to court. So when they get to court, they will decide, because the Supreme Court have said repeatedly that it is forbidden for a political party to break into factions and have different primaries and then throw up multiple candidates for INEC's nomination. Now, the law is that a political party must produce one nominee, okay? A political party with one nominee. A political party that produces 2, 3, or 4 nominees will have problems. And that is why in the past, you notice that in Zamfara State and in River State, sometimes at the last election before the last one, the Supreme Court declared that the 2 states respectively had no governorship candidates. That's exactly what the court said. So it is in the interest of the PDP to, resolve this matter internally. That's what I think. Because if they continue this way, the court may have to hand down the gavel against the political party at large, because the political party have the capacity to resolve this issue and present one candidate. Now they have 2 candidates. One is disgruntled, the other has been chosen by the National Working Committee. The same thing had affected the APC, okay? So our politicians have not learned anything from history, from proceedings we've had in the past, where, the parties went up to the polls or the primaries, broke into several factions, conducted different primaries simultaneously, present different candidates. INEC could not even recognize the one that they endorsed and the one they not endorsed, but the electoral act said that INEC must monitor.
But don't you think that to avoid all of this back and forth, because what we are beginning to see right now is a trend where, aside the electoral process, the candidates now, are seeking solace in courts. And that brings to the fore the issue of the electoral process on one side, and then the judiciary eventually having the final say. This, for me, I feel is a fundamental issue that, of course, throws a deep blow to the electoral, process in Nigeria. Don't you think this calls for some sort of urgent reforms, such that at the end of the day, the results, the process is crystal clear, and the involvement of the judiciary is pretty much minimal?
Yeah, it calls for reform, but the same reform you are talking about have been addressed by the new Electoral Act, okay? The new Electoral Act, okay, 2020, have addressed these issues of reforms you are talking about. And that is to the effect that, first, you cannot challenge the outcome of a primary election if you are not a participant in that, or if you're not an aspirant. Now, 2, that political parties must organize primaries, okay, and make a nominee, which they will send to INEC within 90 days, okay? Now, but you will discover that most political parties, they don't have unity among the political party. They have factions. So within that faction, they create multiple primaries. So the reform is expected that the law is that it is forbidden, it is invalid, okay?
Mm-hmm.
It is not the way of the law that a political party will have more than one primaries or have primaries on different fashion on the same day and produce candidates. So as long as the political parties are not disciplined, you will continue to have, and that is why when the court want to punish them, the court nullifies all their candidates. Okay? Because the National Working Committee should have capacity to be able to monitor and ensure that you have one primaries and you present a candidate for the election. Okay, but the lack of that means that the party is weak. The party is unable to control its candidates, its aspirants, and that snowballs into chaos. And when you have such chaos and you produce multiple candidates all over the place, INEC will not now know which to choose, and that will affect the general election, and it's been a problem. And if you look at the parties across the board, apart from LP, this season in Edo State, APC had the same problem. In fact, APC on one primaries produced 3 governorship candidates, and they went back to rework. PDP's on one primary produced 2, and now one is just gone through, the other has taken the certificate of return. So you are going to have a contest in court, okay? But what I think the political party should do is that they should be able to intervene and have that matter resolved out of court.
I mean, talking about
because of the challenges it poses to them when they are unable to resolve it and they have to get to litigation. And through litigation, it could go anywhere. They could nullify the candidacy of both of them.
And that would mean that they have to go through the process all over again. But I mean, talking about a resolution, now let's look at what the PDP National Publicity Secretary actually did say. He said that the capacity of the party to reconcile all issues and members is what makes it a better party. We adhere to that. Reconciliation is an ongoing process and is not 100-meter dash. It is a marathon. And we are doing that already at different levels. Do you see some sort of amicable resolution happening anytime soon?
Well, it is in their interest to have such a resolution. It is in the party's interest to so do. For me, I think it is better to have this matter resolved amicably. Amicably because it poses a lot of danger. Like I cited what happened in the past to the Zamfara State APC and the River State APC, where the court declared that in both states, the PDP will have no governorship candidates because of this same issue of multiplicity in primaries and the outcomes, inconsistencies in the outcomes are prescribed by law, okay? So if you take that in one hand and you bend over and look at the issues now under reference, there's a likelihood that the court might want to throw the same precedents, having laid that in the past. So, but if they're able to retract and they pull the case out of court and settle it internally, that will give room for the court not to have that opportunity to make a pronouncement against them. Okay? So but if they allow litigation to fester, you know, once a matter gets to court, you cannot tell the outcome. It could go anyway.
Yes.
Based on the reason and the evidence before the court. So that is too much. I think that is too much risk for PDP, that is the leading party, the ruling party in the state, in Edo State. That's too much risk for them to take. Assuming we're not considering the court down nullifies and say that they have no candidate, they don't have any opportunity to go back to the polls, because before the court will finish, when the Federal High Court, the Court of Appeal, before they get to the final point, we'll be close to maybe August or September. And when you get to that September, election will be November.
Around the corner.
So you will not have up to 90 days again to have your candidates
Nominees
before
and all of that.
I mean,
just looking at all of this drama happening, I mean, what do you see, as the eventual outcome, on day of elections, particularly in Edo State? I mean, just at the primary level, we are beginning to see drama. Is this some sort of reflection as to what we should expect on election day?
Well, you know that the primaries, they are quite significantly different from the general elections, because for primaries, it is intra-party, it's within the party. Okay,
I mean, but almost the same issues, almost the same issue is occurring in both parties, at least the two major parties.
Almost the same issues, because our politicians are not disciplined, and the kind of democracy that we will practice is the one that has to do with go or die. So there's a lot of high-handedness, there's a lot of desperation from politicians, there's a lot of malpractice across board. No political party is insulated. None is immune from this politics of calumny. So what happens is that you cannot actually single out a political party that can do the right thing and sustain safe under our political system. You always have, the same outcomes, even from primaries to general election and all that. So the same thing when on the polls, on the day when they get to the polls, they buy votes, they, mutilate the system, contravene the Electoral Act, contravene the Constitution, and they ask the adverse party to go to court. They do everything possible just to win by crook or with anyhow, by hook or crook, so that by the time they get they get to the position, they ask the other party to go to court, and they start to use state resources to fund litigation against their opponents. So that is one very difficult issue to address under our system, because they would have been sworn in while litigation continues. And at every point in court where they lose, they bring a stay of execution of the judgment and appeal to the other point. So doing that, they use state resources to fight their opponents, and sometimes they pull through, sometimes the court overturns whatever decision INEC took, or the tribunal, or the Court of Appeal, the Supreme Court, and all that. So it's a case of indiscipline, widespread abuse of democracy. That is what we have. And it's not just in Edo State, it goes across every state in the country, even at the center. We saw the 2022 election, all the upheavals that occurred in the election, the same thing is being repeated. And not even INEC have learned any lesson. The same thing, INEC staff are also being compromised.
So are you saying that in spite of everything that we saw in the 2023 elections, and of course we know that this elections that are about to happen in states like Edo State and even that of Ondo State, would you say that INEC in itself has not been able to learn or pick one or two areas that you think they need to upgrade and improve? Yet still, even before the polls.
The only reason we are silent about INEC now is because
the elections are not held.
The only reason we are silent about INEC now is because it's not INEC that conducts the primaries. Okay?
Yeah.
When it gets to the one that INEC conducts, that's the election proper. Okay? You begin to see the shenanigans and the malfeasance of that institution.
But INEC has assured that it's up to task this time around. I mean, it has always assured anyway.
They told us they are up to task now. I mean, they told us they were up to task when during the 2023 general election, only for them to turn around and say they could not upload results because of technical glitch. Before that time, they told us that they were ready. They are going to upload results. In fact, they went to Chatham House. They
Ufeli, are you there? Okay, we lost you for a moment. Can you hear me?
What I've seen so far,
okay.
What we have seen so far is that they are not able to do that.
Mm.
Okay? They were not able to do that because even whilst in court, okay, we saw the role that INEC played in court, that they were unable to do anything meaningful. And so that is the process, the unfortunate part of our democratic engagement.
Mm. What do you anticipate should be the level of security involvement, ahead of the Edo State elections, given all of the drama we are seeing right now?
Well, for the Edo election, at that time, I think it will be only Edo that will be having that election. I don't think there's another state having an election in that month.
Yes.
So, I mean, there'll be enough security on ground to be deployed.
Do you think they should be on red alert, given what we're seeing now, or it should just be maybe, minimal, the usual?
No, it shouldn't be usual. It shouldn't be usual because we are witnessing irregularities everywhere. Okay, so there must be some special arrangement to ensure that the elections are conducted well. But over the years, we have also discovered that the more security you deploy, the more things remain the same. If you look at the Kogi State election that took place before now, we saw the level of security that was mobilized to Kogi State. And in that same election, we witnessed a situation where they had this helicopter that was, politicians have so empowered themselves to the point where they use all kinds of gadgets to disempower the people and make sure they emerge victorious. And they turn around to ask the other party to go to court. So, I mean, the mobilization of security, overwhelming mobilization of security, does not even quell rigging, ballot snatching, and the regular vices that occur during the election. It does not. Okay? Just because largely, these security agencies are also compromised. Okay, so we're looking at the same issue, one nation, one country, dealing with corruption, indiscipline, a lack of patriotism, and the likes of it. There are many issues that you could talk about that have led to our consistent failure in our political system. The political system we run is one that compromises everything.
All right, Evans. I'm sorry, but we are pressed for time. We, of course, need to, wrap up at this time. But thank you so much for your contribution on the program. Evans Ufeli, legal practitioner, joining from Lagos State. Thank you once again.
Yes.